She was voted Mother of the Year, and she gets herself set. Her heart is set on buying a dream home. She bids. She gets outbid. And what does she do? According to police, she goes online, Candace, and she orders a hit, of the woman that outbid her for the dream home.
Buying a house can be both an exciting and nerve-wracking experience. After you establish financing and discuss with your realtor your list of must-haves, hard no's, and flexible aesthetics of the home, the search begins. If you're lucky, you may find your ideal home in less than 6 months. Other times, it can take years to accomplish. Once negotiations begin on the home, the instant you find out that other people have also begun to put in offers as well, sheer panic can ensue. Once your offer is accepted, your anxiety disappears and you're consumed with the joy of being the person who triumphed in the end. You briefly think of how defeated the other parties felt after finding out that they lost, but the thought is fleeting and it's assumed that everyone will move on. You win some, you lose some. However, after buying their house, Janice Reuter and Jerry Rice will quickly find out that not everybody is willing to accept loss. When over the next several months, someone was so desperate to win, they would be willing to go through desperate attempts, even putting their family in danger, to get what was theirs. In 2011, 37-year-old Janice Reuter and her husband, 40-year-old Jerry Rice, decided to purchase a new home. Jerry, a former competitive swimmer turned special ed teacher to children with autism, and Janice, who worked as a microbiologist at a children's hospital, had a toddler son and was expecting their second child at the end of the year. They would contact a friend of theirs, who was also a San Diego realtor, and set out on their housing search. They would find their dream home in the Carmel Valley community, a Spanish-style bungalow. And after outbidding 7 other families, they acquired the home at $779,000. After moving in and preparing for their new bundle of joy, the couple was excited to start a new chapter in their lives. Within a month, however, things would begin to take a drastic turn for the worse. It started out with a handwritten letter they received in the mail from a woman offering to buy their home from them for an additional $100,000 above their purchase price. Not knowing what to make of the letter, Jerry and Janice never responded. A week or so later, someone randomly showed up to the house, inquiring about their home being for sale. Initially, it was assumed that they had the wrong address, but after the second and third person came, they looked online and confirmed that it was indeed a picture of their home listed on a real estate website for sale. Speaking with the realtor they worked with to buy the home, they found out that the listing agent was a fake name. The pair would be confused about the incident, but was able to have the listing removed and moved on with their lives. The holiday season would approach soon afterwards, and everything seemed back to normal until the couple realized that they hadn't received their mail in a few weeks. After reaching out to their post office, they would discover that someone posing as Janice had put in a request for the couple's mail to be placed on hold. Taken aback by this information, they would question why someone would go through the effort to impersonate Janice and tamper with their mail. Again, they didn't know what to make of it, so they had the mail resumed and continued on. Once they started receiving their mail again, they realized that their mailbox had become inundated with over a half dozen magazine subscriptions, junk mail, and unpaid invoices for adult diapers, all of which they didn't sign up for. These orders would come to a combined amount of over $1,000, and even though Jerry would contact these companies to dispute the subscriptions, who would believe that someone else ordered mail to your house outside of the home's occupants? Frustrated, They would give in and pay the bills, but not without feeling defeated in the process. It's unclear if they were aware about the online posting that followed, which advertised for a high school New Year's Eve party to be hosted at their home, or if they questioned why someone from the county had contacted them to reassess the value of their home. What is known is that all of their suspicions would be confirmed a few months into the following year, when on Valentine's Day, every wife within the cul-de-sac that they resided in received cards in the mail that said, "Thinking of you," which was signed with Jerry's initials and had the couple's address listed as the sender on the envelope. Jerry would be angrily approached by one of his neighbor's husbands about the card, and the couple would disclose that they had been being harassed for months but couldn't pinpoint the culprit. They would contact authorities who would document the string of incidents, but without a person of interest or traceable evidence, there was nothing that they could do. One of the cops would make a comment to Jerry that whomever the person is, more than likely is watching the couple on a daily basis, which was an eerie realization. Now frightened, the pair would jump into action by getting a home surveillance system, taking self-defense classes, putting a lock on their mailbox, and reaffirming their gates for increased security. Jerry would remember the note that they had received right after they had bought the house and mentioned the name Kathy Rowe to investigators. But without any concrete evidence it was her, the police just documented his suspicions and moved on. However, weird things would continue to happen, with Jehovah's Witnesses making frequent stops to the home and an ad online offering free Mexican fireworks around the 4th of July holiday weekend. One day, Jerry would decide to Google his and his wife's name so that they could possibly brace themselves for whatever the next event would be. To their shock and dismay, it would be discovered that Janice's picture and home address had been posted multiple times on an online platform in the Seeking Sexual Encounters section. The posts were titled Carmel Valley Freak Show and attempted to solicit men to the couple's home, saying things such as, "Adult entertainment of all types when my husband is not home, not for the faint of heart. Come see me during the day while my husband is at work and we can get our freak on." Upset and concerned for theirs and their 2 children's safety, they would add to their mounting police reports by reporting the online ad while continuing to live their life, suspicious of everyone around them. Although all of these petty incidents were upsetting and affected the couple's mental and emotional health, what happened next would escalate the situation to where the police would make it a priority to find and arrest the person who had been relentlessly stalking the couple. Jerry would be home one day when an unknown man came to the house, attempting to gain entry to the home. The man looked startled when Jerry answered the door, said he had the wrong address, and hurriedly left the property. He would immediately call authorities, and a few days later, San Diego's multi-agency task force that apprehends and prosecutes criminals who use technology to prey on citizens, also known as CATCH, would be assigned to the case. Within a few weeks, after obtaining a search warrant for Yahoo and subsequently gaining the IP address of the person that wrote the online post, authorities would identify 53-year-old Kathy Rowe as the culprit. For the purposes of staying within YouTube's community guidelines, I'm going to substitute some words moving forward. In October of 2012, she would be arrested on charges of soliciting R and begins with the letter S and rhymes with economy, 4 counts of identity theft, and 1 count of misdemeanor harassment. Initially, she would deny the accusations during her interview with the police, but eventually, she would provide a full confession. Kathy, who in 2006 was included in a local contest as one of 50 women declared San Diego's best moms, was a county analyst who lived with her husband John and her 14-year-old disabled daughter Rachel. She was the primary caretaker of Rachel, who suffered from a rare genetic disorder which made her barely able to walk and fully dependent for 24-hour care. Kathy would say that the older her daughter got, the heavier she became, and it became a strain for her to carry the child up and down the steps. And since her husband had recently been diagnosed with stage 4 stomach cancer and was also unable to walk up and down stairs with ease, she felt that a one-level home would be perfect to accommodate their daily needs. So in 2011, she set out looking for a bungalow-style home. She went around handing out flyers to every single story home within her San Diego community and made great efforts to be the first person to view one of these homes as soon as they hit the market. She would later claim that she viewed over 100 homes before finding the one, a 3-bedroom, 2.5-bath, one-level Carmel Valley house with a pool, private garden, and red tile roof. She would put an offer in on the house and was fully aware that 6 other families had as well. Unfortunately, miscommunication between Kathy and her realtor, she lost the bid she put in on the house to Janice and Jerry. And according to Kathy, the culmination of her husband's stomach cancer, her best friend developing sepsis, and the fatigue from only getting 2 hours of sleep a night while sleeping in a chair in her daughter's room caused her to become depressed and jealous of the Rices. She would go on record saying, "I think people have resiliency by their support network, by their family, by their friends. I didn't have those." At that point, she looked at losing the house as the final straw. So she began what she called a series of pranks against the family to relieve the buildup of pressure that she had accumulated. She stated, "Once a month, I would be up all night and I would think, wouldn't it be funny to do this?" and began harassing the couple as a way to annoy them. While on the Dr. Phil show, she claimed that none of her behaviors was motivated to have Jerry and Janice move, but her attorney would say the opposite in defense of her actions during her court hearing. Meanwhile, Janice and Jerry would be notified about Kathy's identity after her arrest. And once Janice looked up Kathy's Facebook profile and saw her picture, she recognized Kathy as having had come to their house with her daughter during Halloween. Although Kathy had no previous criminal record, she faced a maximum sentence of 3 years for what Janice, Jerry, and prosecutors viewed as an R attempt, which after the specifics of what Kathy was doing came to light, seemed justifiable. After taking Janice's picture off of Facebook and creating the online post, a man replied to the ad with his age, height, and interest in hooking up. Pretending to be Janice, Kathy replied that she liked the element of surprise and told him to stop by Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. and it would turn her on if he forced the door and take her, even if she said no. Then she sent him Janet's address. 2 weeks would pass before the two communicated again when he emailed Kathy to see if she was still interested. Kathy replied, "Absolutely." Then the next day, sent him another message saying, "I'm available all week. Maybe we can have a nooner on your lunch hour. I will have my clean shaven every day, awaiting your tongue. Just stop on by and surprise me with your heart." A couple days afterwards, he would go to the couple's home, but the gate was locked, so he was unable to knock on the front door. He would send a follow-up email to Kathy, telling her what happened, in which she responded, "I'm so sorry, want to make it up to you. We'll make it extra wild and worth your time." So a few hours later, he would go back to the house, and the gate was open, so he knocked on the door when Jerry answered. He made up an excuse about having the wrong address, turned around and left, then emailed Kathy again about the incident, to which she replied, "I hope it's okay with you that I see other guys." The next day she would contact the man again saying, "Once in a while, my husband drops by during the day to see if he can catch me in the act. He knows about my men, that I have to get at least once a day, sometimes more, and he just can't do that anymore. Don't worry, he won't intrude on us unless we want him to. If we want him to join us, he will. Are you into threesomes? He will do my, if you stay in my, it makes my even tighter. You'll enjoy it, but it's totally up to you. Or you can switch and do my back too." The man would respond that he was interested, but would prefer if her husband didn't drop by. Although this would be Kathy's last interaction with that particular man, she also had sent similar messages to another man, also encouraging him to go over to their home for a sexual encounter. Both men would testify in court And because they admitted that they thought it was a hookup for consensual sex, the judge would throw out the solicitation charges, but convicted Kathy for harassment and stalking. The prosecution would appeal the decision, and the solicitation charges would be reinstated. Kathy would accept a plea deal, and on November 25, 2014, pled guilty to stalking in exchange for the prosecution to drop the charges of felony R and S, which, if convicted, she would have had to register as a SL for the rest of her life. And the misdemeanor charges of identity theft and harassment were also dropped. Although the prosecution pushed for a year of jail and Janet and Jerry pushed for at least 90 days, on January 11, 2015, Kathy would be sentenced to a year of home electronic surveillance, 5 years of probation, in order to stay away from devices for 10 years. They would file a civil suit against Mrs. Rowe, and the parties would eventually settle for an undisclosed amount. Subsequently, Kathy would lose her job, and her husband John would sadly succumb to cancer in December of 2016. Kathy and her daughter has since moved into a home a mile away from Janice and Jerry. This marks the end of this video. I appreciate you guys for listening this far. I would love to hear your thoughts on the outcome of this case. Do you feel as though Kathy received an appropriate sentence for not only the pranks that she committed against Janice and Jerry, but also the solicitation that she did? Even though I know that she had a lot going on in her personal life, I just want to hear what you guys think, because I feel like that's why her sentence was so light. I also want to know, would you have stayed in the house? Because as of the closing of that article, which was a few years ago, Janice and Jerry were still living there. So, I want to hear your thoughts on everything. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you at the next one. Talk to you soon. All right. Bye.